The July 1st, 2024 meeting of the Bay City City Commission will come to order. The city clerk will give the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Dockett.
I'm here.
Rivet.
Yes.
Bernie.
Yes.
Brunner.
Here.
Hilliker.
Here.
Gerard.
Here.
Clements.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion to excuse the mayor? Commissioner Gerard?
Move to excuse the mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Morris?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, the mayor is excused, and we have a quorum. We have, I know that it says 2 on the agenda here, but we do have a third presentation, and I'm going to have them go first. We have Mr. Prince here from Senator McDonald Rivet's office to announce some good things.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Prince. I work for Senator McDonald Rivet, also a proud citizen of Bay City. With some happy news. This past Thursday, the state legislature passed their fiscal year 2025 budget. Senator McDonald Rivet was proud to vote yes and champion a grant for the city of Bay City of $1.6 million to reimburse the city for the cost of the Lafayette Bridge reconstruction. In the coming months, I'll be working with city leadership on the proper documentation, so that way this is a seamless process of getting the money to the city to be used however they wish. I'm happy to take any questions on this budget and or anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Prince, for coming tonight. Commissioner Gerard?
Just real quick on the timing, the governor still has to sign that, is that correct, or has she signed it, or?
The governor still has to sign it. Every indication is that the governor plans to sign it, and there won't be a line item veto on this particular issue.
Perfect. I want to thank the senator and yourself, all your work on this project. I know it's I've had a lot of communications with businesses in the district, and so I know it's important to our residents that we have these monies freed up. So thank you. Good work by the senator and yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others? You got off the hook really easy. I just want to echo what Commissioner Gerard said. Thank you very much for all of your work and all of the Senator's work as well. And I think it's an amazing thing for Bay City that we are getting that cost on Lafayette Street Bridge reimbursed to us. So we're not going to be incurring those costs. And that's a great thing for us. So I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you, and I'll be here the rest of the meeting. So if you have any questions afterwards, happy to take them.
Thank you. Okay. On to the regular presentations, Westside Fire Operations and Infrastructure. Mr. Rowell's coming up. Okay.
That one's kind of hard to follow, I guess, but I'll do my best. I'm going to talk to you a little bit tonight about our, plans that have been in motion for quite some time. I'm going to focus on the west side tonight because we are ready to move forward with the next steps of this. This is something that's been, in the planning stage for the last probably 3 to 4 years. I actually started with the prior director moving in this direction, but the thought behind it is for us to determine the best course of action within the budget that we have for fire and public safety operations on the west side, which is what we're focusing on tonight. Current operations, obviously we have 4 stations citywide, which you're all well aware of. The city is 11.2 square miles, and we have 2 stations on each side of the river. As we've discussed previously, all of the stations are quite old, in need of a lot of infrastructure repairs. I've even told the manager this yet, sorry, but just this morning, the fire chief said the roof is leaking profusely at Station 1, and they're unable to patch it, so we're going to have to find a way to get that repaired here in the near future as well. So more good news. But on the west side in particular, we have 212 South Dean Street, and we have 1209 East Smith Street. As you can see up there, the two red dots on the west side, I guess I can point with the laser. There's 4 and there's 5. This is Bangor Township. That's Essexville over there, just in case you're wondering. As we've responded for the last several years, a fire engine or a fire truck or an aerial responds to all medical calls, meaning you're taking a roughly $500,000 to $1 million apparatus to every stub toe or sprained ankle to cardiac arrest. It doesn't matter. Every medical call, those big machines are going to them, which is very expensive. And as you all know and have discussed in length at these meetings, which I've heard, are the condition of the roads doesn't help on a lot of the side streets trying to take these giant trucks down there. Beats them up, puts a lot of wear and tear on them in addition to a lot of miles. You can look at the calls for service over the past several years. If you take 2019 and 2020 out, they're kind of anomalies due to COVID. The calls actually went down because nobody wanted to call 911 at that point. But if you look at the laser, okay, this purple line down at the bottom is actually structure fires. It's hard to put that on the same level as the others when there's 5,000 medical calls and there's only 2022 there were 6 reported structure fires, which is kind of an anomaly in and of itself. Generally, we're around the 20 range. You can see back in 2017, 43 structure fires, which is quite a bit. And people always, when I show them this graph, you look at 2022 to 2023 and see a 283% increase. That's a high number. However, we only had 6 the prior year, which is, I've never seen anything like that in the last 25 years. So, Station 5 statistics, total calls that they were dispatched to in 2023 is 790. Of those 790, the calls within the district of Station 5 were 470 of those. So the 790 would be responding to alarms at some of the high rises or alarms in other districts or responding to medical calls when other fire engines are tied up. So that's the reason the calls within the district are so much lower. If you actually look at the calls individually and look at where they are within the city, there were about 284 that were actually closer to Station 5 than another station. So that's roughly, less than 1 per 24-hour period of calls that are within that area. Most of the apparatus that we have are expected to last about 20 years before replacement, which is just really not a realistic number. If you look at all of our current, actually, this is Engine 3 with 142,000 miles, was a great fire engine for us. We actually just retired it recently because we got a rescue vehicle, which is designed to kind of eliminate putting all these miles on the engines. But in order to put that rescue vehicle into service, we had to do something to change the way we operate. So the idea is to move the rescue vehicle to Station 4 and put the personnel that was at Station 4 at Station 5, or at Station 5, move them to Station 4 so that all the personnel on the west side are at one fire station at Station 4, and Station 5 would no longer be operable. That smaller apparatus, number one, I think we can do this without reducing service to the public. You can get to places a lot quicker when you're driving a more normal size vehicle, and the vehicle will last within the budget parameters that we have. If you look at, say, for instance, Ladder 4, which has 125,000 miles on it, that's really unheard of in a lot of other jurisdictions. I have some more examples for you later on, but anything over 100,000 miles on a fire engine is really not the norm that's out there. If you look at Engine 2, which only has 60,000 miles, it's because it was Engine 5, And we moved that over to engine 2 because, as you can see, engine 5 was getting to 120,000 miles. So we moved it to Station 5 where it wouldn't get quite as many miles on it in hopes to make it last a little bit longer. The thing that is often not taken into account with fire engines is that it's not just the miles that they put on them, it's every time they go to a fire and they actually have to pump the fire, that engine is running that entire time. So it's the hours actually fighting fires in addition to the miles that are put on it, and it's a lot of wear and tear. As you've heard by the budget that we just went into effect today, but $1.9 billion this next year to replace vehicles citywide. That doesn't go a whole long way when you're replacing dump trucks, sanitation trucks, fire trucks, when your average fire truck now is upwards of $800,000. In comparison, if you look at Saginaw, this is kind of the miles that are on their apparatus as they stand. If you look at the map, it shows that they have 4 fire stations. My laser's kind of hard to see, but that station right there doesn't actually operate anymore, so they're at 3 fire stations. These are the miles, and you can see engine 2, which has 89,000, is already on order to have one replace it, and their truck 1, which means it's a ladder truck, is also being replaced this month. In comparison to our 11.2 miles, Saginaw is 17.81 square miles, operating with 3 fire stations, just to give a reference. And as a big contrast, you can see they went to 187 structure fires in 2023, which is quite a bit more than we see, but they also do not respond to every medical call. They only go to ones that they're requested on, which is not that many. If you want to go the other way to Midland, you can see they just replaced several fire apparatus. Their Rescue 1 is actually like a Ford F-250 or 350 chassis, so it's more like a truck like we're looking to go towards. They are 3 fire stations, and if I were looking at their operations, I could say they could almost use more because they're 36.34 square miles. That's a lot of area to cover with 3 fire stations, but that's the way they've operated. I believe kind of the way they ended up this way is they had 3 fire stations, and then the city kept growing outwards with annexing other places, and they never really expanded their operations. But they're very similar to us, and as far as the number of structure fires they have, granted more than 3 times as big, but about the same number of structure fires in a year. And again, they operate with 3 fire stations. So our plan moving forward is to consolidate, work towards eliminating the 1-person crews. I have never been real thrilled with having 1 firefighter at a fire station, because not necessarily because they can't get to a fire or a medical and do a lot of good when they get there. They can, but it puts them at an inordinate amount of risk because they're going to get there, and I know the people that work for us, if that house is on fire and there's somebody in there, they're going to go in and put themselves at extreme risk. And as the administrator over the department, I don't like that. I know they're going to do it, so I want them to have at least 2 people there so that they can do it safely when they get there. So less stations with more people. I met with everybody in the fire division to discuss this plan moving forward because I didn't want it to be a surprise for them. I wanted their input. Their biggest concern that I took from it, I don't want to speak for their union or anything, but they were concerned that less stations would equate less people. And this plan doesn't work with less people. The idea in it being able to use a rescue is to have more personnel at a station. So if we put another person at Station 4, we can send the rescue out on a medical and still have a person there able to respond to a fire should one come in. And then they would obviously meet wherever that fire happened to occur at. So utilization of less expensive vehicles for medical calls, which are rescue vehicle. The one at the top is the one that we just put in service. We've been using it a little bit out of Station 1 when we have enough personnel to do it. The idea would be to move that to Station 4 on a permanent basis and be able to run it every day for all medicals on the west side. The one at the bottom is just a pickup truck, which is something that we may look towards in the future. We're kind of trying this out to see how well it works. If they can still get to all medical calls in an expedient manner, with a smaller vehicle, we may look to expand this and take this type of operation to the east side as well. In order to prepare for this as well, we have an automatic aid agreement, which you guys recently saw for Bangor Township, and as luck would have it, we just had a fire in Bangor Township today where we went out and helped them, but they've also come into the city several times to help us. It works great to get a decent number of fire personnel at the scene right away, because they have 24-hour coverage as well. In the infrastructure side of this, as we discussed previously, Station 5 is in need of a lot of repairs, and we don't have the funding to keep all 4 stations in tip-top shape. So again, with not manning Station 5 and not doing all the repairs there, I chose to focus, and was just approved in the budget, these improvements to Station 4 to make it a little more livable and long-lasting. The windows in there have, you can feel the breeze blow through them currently. So this is in the budget to get all this fixed. The idea is to fix Station 4 into a much better shape. Instead of having 2 stations, doing patchwork on them, reduce it down to 1 and actually fix it up to make it more operable. So in summary, fire apparatus, the big ones are expensive, difficult to replace. This would result in basically Engine 5 becoming a backup engine, meaning we wouldn't really pay into the MRF fund for it and wouldn't replace it when it dies. So it eliminates one of our apparatus, and which is, as you know, very expensive to replace. Current course of action is not sustainable with the budget we have. I know from sitting here at the meetings, I get a good idea of what's going on in the entire city, and seeing the infrastructure citywide with the roads and everything else, and seeing you guys struggle with coming up ways to fund it. We've been very innovative, getting grants and getting a lot of money for different things, such as the bridge, which we just heard tonight. But it's going to take a lot more to fix everything, and we would like to do our part to maintain a high level of service while staying within a reasonable amount of money. Any questions?
Thank you. Commissioner Gerard?
Thank you. On the medical discussed for a long time. Saginaw doesn't. Who determines that, and how, through that process, did we determine that we're doing those runs?
It's just always a service that we've provided. I think the public demands it. And the way things operate, it's controlled by the Medical Control Board for the county. And if you respond to medical calls, you either have to respond to all or none. You can't pick and choose. And they set those rules.
Now, just so my understanding, are any for private EMS, they bill for those services? Is it?
The transport agencies bill. If they just show up and treat somebody on scene, there's generally not a bill.
Okay. So Saginaw just elected to not do those services, that?
Correct.
And does Midland do those services?
Yes, they respond to medicals.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. I'm just trying to get an understanding of it.
Thank you. Are there any others? So following up on that, with a medical call, we don't bill. Is there a bill if there's a fire? Does it bill insurance, or how does that work?
Yeah, if they have insurance, we bill, but it's a relatively small amount.
Okay. This is tough to assess, but is there anything like for fake calls, like people who call and they do? Maybe we shouldn't advertise that. But is there some sort of deterrent?
There's abuse of 911. I mean, it has to get to the level where you can charge them with a crime.
Okay.
Almost before there's.
Okay. So actually, I think that's all I have. I think you answered all of them. Is there anyone else? Commissioner Burney, do you have your hand up, or you're just sitting? Okay. Okay. Seeing no one else, thank you very much. Next presentation is drinking water update, and Mr. Jurish is coming up. Mr. Jurish, I don't recognize the other people, so if you would be so kind as to introduce them when you start.
I did plan on doing an introduction.
Thank you.
Just to get going first, though, as I'm sure as everybody knows, my department, the water department, had to send out public notice due to a treatment violation. Is there slides? Okay, all right, well said. All right, but before I get going, I'm going to make the introductions. First off, we have Carl Overly. He's the superintendent of the Bay Area Water Treatment Plant. Next to him is Marissa Drobich. She is our area representative from Eagle. Then we have Matt Sylvester. He is the corrosion control specialist from Eagle. And next to him is Jennifer Bolt, and she's the environmental specialist also with Eagle. So I figured I might want to bring some backup just in case between Carl and I, if we can't answer a question or something like that. So the way we're gonna handle this is Carl's gonna start off going over the treatment process, the orthophosphate and stuff like that. Then I'll take over and we'll go into what the violation was all about. So Carl, if you want to go ahead, the clicker's right there. You can come up here or you can use that microphone, either or.
You're going to have to hold the button down. Make sure you speak into it so it can go into the recording as well, please.
Like that?
Yep. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Carl Overly with the Bay Area Water Treatment Plant. As Marty said, I am the superintendent. Started as superintendent there in 2023. I've been with the plant since startup in 2015, and here to talk about the plant a little bit. So Bay City water is filtered through our membranes here. They are UF membranes, and our raw water source, when we came online in 2015, moved from the Bay to Au Gres from Saginaw Midland. It's a higher quality raw water source, considerably north of us, about an hour north of us. Oh, can you hear me better now? There we go. So for corrosion control, there's three treatment techniques. There's alkalinity and pH control, there's calcium hardness adjustment, and then phosphate and silica addition. Throughout the state, 189 different water systems use phosphate addition, and that's what we use at the Bay Area Water Treatment Plant. That is a carry forward from the old plant. The conventional plant that was in our same location used phosphate as well. For us, orthophosphate, we have a daily average requirement leaving the plant that must be above or at 3.1 milligrams per liter. That was set by Eagle on December 20th of 2017. PO4 in the water leaving the plant has been at or above 3.1 milligrams per liter every day since 2017. And our average over that time span going back that far is 3.4 milligrams per liter. It is worth noting that 3.1 milligrams per liter is one of the highest minimum PO4 requirements in the state. Phosphate sampling, water testing must be also done on the water in the distribution system, not just our plant. From January 2019 to December 2023, over 1,000 samples were collected throughout the Bay Area water system and checked for PO4. All were above the 3.0 milligrams per liter for PO4. Testing showed that as long as water leaving the plant was 3.4 milligrams per liter, water in the system, the distribution systems, would be above the 3.0 milligrams per liter. I don't know when you want to.
This is fine, I'll take over. So, just to add on to what Carl's last slide said, that orthophosphate goes throughout our system to the furthest reaches, whether it's up to Linwood, Pinconning, all the way out to Akron, correct? And it all maintains the level that needed. So on April 15, 2022, we got a letter stating requirements from Eagle that the city of Bay City must collect 10 samples every 3 months or every quarter. The samples must be analyzed for orthophosphate, among other things. The daily value of the orthophosphate must be at or above the 3 parts per million or milligrams per liter. In that letter, it said that a single value or the average of multiple values collected in the day is known as the daily value. Now, when that happened, when the low sample came in, we took it as the multiple samples, we averaged it out, we were above the daily value. But in talking with Eagle, what it actually meant was that a single value, or the average of multiple values from a single site collected in a day, is known as the daily value. So we certainly learned our lesson on that one. My staff, myself and my staff, and the Bay Area Water Treatment staff was under the understanding that the average of all samples collected in the day was the daily value. So that was the report that we submitted. The sample that was low was at fire station number 5. These are the samples for that particular testing cycle. And if you note, it was at the 2.4. And the next closest sample site downstream is number 10, which is our new DPW building. That tested at 3.4. So we had everything downstream from that was above the minimum requirements. So again, in collaboration with the water plant, we decided that, you know, everything is good. So the violation timeline is January 30th is when the 10 water quality samples were collected. 9 had ortho residual above 3 parts per million. The one at fire station 5 was at 2.4, which I must, in my opinion, and talking with Carl, 2.4 is still a healthy dose of orthophosphate. And because it was low, that's when the excursion days started. Now, the 9 excursion days means that every day after we don't resample, that's an excursion day. So technically speaking, I had 9 days to go resample and prove that it was above 3. Because we misinterpreted that rule, we did not go back and resample. And the 9 excursion days lapsed on February 8th. April 22nd, we went back out to do our second quarter samples, and at that time, we were actually reduced to 7 sites. So we collected those 7 samples, all were well above the 3.0. May 24th, I got a letter from Matt Sylvester stating that we were in violation. And on June 3rd, I sent a letter back disputing or appealing the Eagles' decision on that. June 15th, we got an answer back, and if I'm not mistaken, the next day, we had a Zoom meeting to discuss if there was anything that we could do, and obviously there was not. The fact was we were in violation according to the rule. And so that's when I had to get on the horse and get the letter drafted and sent out to all the Bay City Water customers. Keep in mind that the letter that was drafted came to me through Eagle, and we were only allowed to modify it slightly, correct? And they approved our modification. So I got it to the printer, it got printed, took it to a place down in Troy, and had it stuffed and mailed out that Thursday and Friday before the deadline. So a recap of everything that happened. The corrosion control provided at the water plant through the orthophosphate feed. The feed has been in place and effective every day since the minimum levels were set in 2017. At no time did the plant stop feeding orthophosphate. In the last 5 years, only 1 distribution sample out of 1,000 went below, and that just happened to be that January 1. Through the staff, my staff, Carl's staff, we came to the conclusion that the samples collected that day were the average of the sum, not just that 1 sample. Now that sampling requirements are better understood, I can pretty much guarantee you that is never going to happen again. Because of this, not only did I have to send out the violation notice, but we were currently under the lead copper testing where we had to test 30 homes once a year between June and September. That now doubled. We have to collect from 60 homes, and that will happen between July and December of this year, and again 60 homes between January and June next year. Also, I had mentioned earlier that we were reduced to 7 monitoring sites at that particular point in time. Well, we are now back up to 10, and I believe that's for a 6-month period. If everything comes out good, then we'll, I'm assuming, drop back down to 7. It's either 6 months or 12 months. And that's basically in a nutshell what happened. I know it's quite a bit to go through. Any questions?
Commissioner Gerard?
Thank you, Mr. Jur. So we were collecting, was it always 7 sites and we were just collecting from 10, or is?
No, we were at 10 sites at the time of the violation. From the time of the violation to the time of the letter, we had actually got reduced to 7 sites. And now we're back up to 10 sites.
Okay. Do we sample around that? So is but the fire station, where's the bad sample, or the sample underneath the corrosion control standards? Do you sample around, like, because I had residents concerned about, in that area.
Yeah, so the 10 sample sites that we sampled were Fire Station 1 on Center, Fire Station 2 on Fremont, Jack's Fruit Market on Salzburg, Fire Station 4, Fire Station 5, City Hall here, Skipper Bud's Marina, the electric peaking plant, Bay City wastewater, and the city DPW building. And really the reason we do those, the main reason, is that it is a good mix around town and they're easily accessible.
All right, thank you. Bottom line, though, everybody around the table feels our water's safe, that we've applied the appropriate standards,
Absolutely.
and then we wouldn't have any trouble drinking that water.
None whatsoever.
Okay, those are the main things that people are concerned about.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
understand that, yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Burney?
Yes, hi, Marty. What area did you test the water at the most? Is there a certain area that the water was tested at, or
For the failure or for the
for the violation?
The violation was Fire Station number 5, and that is a site for the quarterly samples and for our regular distribution samples.
Were there any residential areas that it was higher at for the lead and the copper?
Well, we didn't test the lead and copper. We tested the orthophosphate at those sites at that time. We are going to do the lead copper sampling later this year. Like I had said, we go from July to December. So we're probably thinking somewhere October, November, we're probably going to do the first round of sampling.
What would be is there like a certain year of the home that would be more pertinent or more relevant for for it to be lead and
For the lead copper
in
testing?
Yeah. Is there a certain year that the house would have to be made for the,
Well, what we go by is our main priority is homes with a lead service. Whether it be a full lead service or homeowners, customer side, it really doesn't matter. It's considered a lead service. We have to test from there until all the lead services are replaced. From there, we can go to the galvanized, or once we get rid of all that, then we'll go to homes that possibly have lead in the copper in their soldering for copper.
you say those are homes made from like we'd say like from the 1900s until would you do those first, like the 1900s until the 1950s?
Typically around Bay City, homes that are newer than, say, 1940 are pretty much considered with copper. Now, that's not a given rule, that's just kind of what we've been seeing. So anything prior to 1940, we assume that they definitely have lead. And not only that, but we are going out and verifying each and every service in Bay City, which at last I checked, I believe we have just under 300 left to do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Morris?
I apologize if I missed it in the presentation, but of the 1,000 that were never under 3 parts per million, do you know why this one was? Like, was there an issue, or what caused this sort of freak accident thing to happen if it was just only 1 out of 1,000?
It is my opinion, and the opinion of Carl and the water plant and my staff, is that this was more or less an anomaly. Could have been a sampling error, whether it was at the point of the sample or during the test itself. From what I understand, the test is very sensitive, so if just one little minute thing goes wrong, then, you know, the test could go wrong.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any others? So, I apologize if I missed this as well. I was worried about the microphone at the first slide, but orthophosphate is corrosion control, is what I gathered from that. How exactly does it work with regards to corrosion control? Does it slow the process of corrosion? Does it reinforce the lining? I missed
Go ahead,
that.
Carl.
It's, okay, it reinforces the
Or Matt, one of you.
Yeah, so essentially orthophosphate forms scale, or it helps form scale. We call that a passivation layer. It's basically creating a barrier in between the pipe wall itself and the actual direct contact with water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this sounds like if the water wasn't turned on for an extended period of time or something like that, the orthophosphate that's in the pipe has an opportunity to hit the walls and number drops. That's pretty much what we're kind of looking at there.
I would imagine it'd take quite a while for that to happen, but yeah, that is a possibility. But in this case, Fire Station 5 is regularly used and regularly tested. So I don't believe that to be the case there.
Okay. And obviously, you know, corrosion control was the problem in Flint, obviously. Are we at any risk of that with this? Is there any linkage there? Because, I mean, people are asking, I want to make sure that we can reassure them that no, that's not the case.
Again, it is my opinion, and we can ask down the table here, I don't think we're anywhere near what Flint situation was. Flint changed their source of water and did not change their source of treatment. And that's how they got into it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's, in a nutshell, that's what happened.
Right, that's my understanding.
We did not change our process. At no time was the water plant not feeding orthophosphate. It was just a, like Commissioner Morris said, just a freak thing, in our opinion.
Okay. I will continue to drink the water.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
And I believe we're going to stay after for a little bit if anybody had any other questions, if
Please.
you think of between now and then. So
Yeah, I can imagine a couple of the people in the audience, that's what they're here for. So
I would imagine.
that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Next order of business is the adoption of the agenda. And before we do this, the deputy clerk wanted to make some clarifications on Robert's rules and how those operate, just so that we're all on the same page. There was some confusion at the last meeting, and we want to make sure that everybody is clear on this.
Okay, there was a question at the last meeting about how an item is added to the agenda. I misspoke when I answered that. Per Robert's rules, when the agenda is up for adoption, it is subject to amendment by majority vote. What that means is that it would be a motion, a second to that motion, and a roll call vote with a majority to add something to the agenda. Are there any questions on that process?
So this stems from a difference between the Robert's Rules of Order in brief and the full Robert's Rules of Order book, because there's no clarification in the brief book, correct? Okay. Any questions on this before we progress? Okay, because I know I've got a couple of these on my desk as well. So do any members of the commission wish to add an item to the agenda?
We need a motion on the agenda first.
We need a motion on the agenda first.
To approve the agenda. We may need to redo that script, but to amend something, there has to be a motion first. So there should be a motion on the floor to approve.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Commissioner Gerard.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Brunner?
Second.
Thank you. Now, is there a motion to add any items to the agenda? Commissioner Burney? Would you please read your resolution?
What I wanted to do, I wanted to amend a couple things on it, but I might as well just go ahead with it. I'll just go ahead and read it. Yeah, I might as well just go ahead and read it.
This is just to add as well. This is just to add your item, and then there'll be a separate time for pulling things off.
Okay, my resolution is about the Bay Metro Transportation. I want to say something great about them. They've been with us for 50 years. I used to ride it, when I was a kid when they first came out. So there's going to be a celebration for them right here, a certificate for 50 years of service. They've been serving
Commissioner
Bay
Burney,
City for a very long time.
I'm sorry for
Here's my
interrupting. Can
resolution.
you just read it, please? Thank you.
Yes.
Yep, we can have discussion.
Whereas Bay Metro Transportation has served our Bay City lower-income residents since July 15th, 1974, which will be 50 years of service to our city, July 15th, 2024, on that said day. Whereas Bay Metropolitan Transportation is a way of life for our lower-income residents commuting to grocery shopping, doctor appointments, school, working, also to integrate to our productive citizens in Bay City society. Whereas these services are still available with Bay Metro Transportation. Since tolling has started with the Liberty Bridge, Metropolitan Transportation has to pay a yearly tax fee enforced by BCBP in the city of Bay City of $250,000. This is not feasible for the company, being they don't have enough revenue with the cost of gasoline going up every day. Whereas the lower-income residents are rerouted to different routes, meaning late doctor's appointments, school, work, everything that could help them to be productive in society or to integrate into the Bay City East Town community. Whereas the Lafayette Street Bridge will be closing in August, the Metropolitan Transportation busing will possibly go under, being the tolling tax fee of $250,000 enforced by the BCBP in the city of Bay City and the cost of gasoline, and having one bridge, Veterans Memorial State-owned bridge. Be it resolved, Bay City Metropolitan Transportation be recognized for 50 years of service as a Bay City public service. Be it further resolved, Bay Metropolitan Transportation be exempt from $250,000 a year starting immediately. Now, I know that this is, they tell me it's for the county, or the county can only do this. $250,000 a year to help Bay City citizens, low-income
Burney.
people, it's
Commissioner
not a
Burney,
lot.
I apologize. It's just for reading, and we'll have discussion separately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Morris?
Second.
Thank you.
There can be discussion on adding.
Okay, so we're going to have discussion on adding the item. It has to be specific to adding the item, not approving or rejecting the item, though, okay? So just for adding the item. Does anyone want to discuss adding the item? Commissioner Burney? Okay. Any others? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll on adding the item to the agenda?
Commissioner Rivet?
Yes.
Burney?
Yes.
Brunner?
No.
Hilliker?
No.
Gerard?
No.
Clements?
No.
Morris?
No.
Docket?
Yes.
3 yes, 5 no.
I believe Commissioner Clements also has one. Commissioner Clements?
Yes, thank you. Resolution from myself. Whereas July 4th holiday will bring visitors to Bay City, and many residents will visit Veterans Memorial Park in the Midland Street Business District. And whereas the Midland Street Business District wishes to close the 500 and 600 blocks of Midland Street to celebrate the 4th of July weekend with live music and other activities. And now, therefore, be it resolved that city staff will close the 500 and 600 blocks of Midland Street on Friday, July 5th, as early as possible, and open both blocks on Sunday, July 7th, as early as possible.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Gerard?
Second?
Thank you. Is there a second? Or is there any discussion on adding the item to the agenda? I apologize. New part. No discussion. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Hilliker,
Yes.
Gerard,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Docket,
Yes.
Rivet.
Yes.
8 yes votes.
Okay. Will the clerk please now call the roll on adopting the agenda as amended?
Commissioner Brunner,
Yes.
Hilliker,
Yes.
Gerard,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Docket,
Yes.
Rivet,
Yes.
Burney.
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you for bearing with me through that. Next order of business is the consent agenda. Do any members of the commission wish to make a change to the consent agenda? Seeing none. Next order of Commissioner Gerard.
Just reports of officers, 7.
Did you specify which item?
Sorry, the contract with RSK Excavating Howell.
Thank you. Any others? Seeing none, next order of business calls for public input on the consent agenda. This is the opportunity for citizens to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration on the regular agenda. If anyone in the audience wishes to make a change, please come to the microphone, sign the registration sheet, state your name and address for the record, and the item that you wish to have considered on the regular agenda. Seeing none, seeing one.
Okay.
If the lights needs to be.
Now it's on. Oh, goodness. Okay. Thank you for having me. Happy month of July to everyone, and once again, thank you for everything that you all do. I just wanted to come up here real quick and just give a progress report that's real positive.
Mr. Kimbrough, I apologize. This is just for pulling items off the agenda, regular public input.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone want to pull any items off of the consent agenda before we move on? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Gerard?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Hilliker?
Second.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the consent agenda?
Commissioner Hilliker,
Yes.
Gerard,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Docket,
Yes.
Rivet,
Yes.
Burney,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
8 yes.
All right, consent agenda is adopted. Next order of business is remarks of the mayor and commission. Do any of the members of the commission have anything that they would like to discuss? Commissioner Burney.
First, I would like to discuss the email letter that I asked city manager. I've been asking to have the attorneys, the contracts, everything about United Bridge Partners, and I asked from 2019 up until now, I asked for the contracts. I'm pulling it up. I sent this to her, And I asked for the contracts, the signatures, I asked for the architect names, I asked for the bids, I asked for all this information, I sent it to you, and anyways, you keep giving me documents from March 1st, 2023 until now. Why is that? Why aren't you giving me the,
What you
you
have,
gave me one, excuse me, you gave me one document from 2020. They're not signed at all by any of the attorneys, not you, not anyone that was involved with these United Bridge Partners. I want to know why is that?
the only agreements that we have are the ones that are sitting in front of you. Those are the only ones that a commission approved.
I'm talking about from the beginning, when we put in for the bids. For some reason, we only had one architectural advisory company that came in, that you had come in, or that you acknowledged that you had come in. It was only one company. Why didn't we have more than one advisory company to choose from? Why wasn't there 3 or 4? Why was it only that particular company?
We did that through a bid process, so we only had one architect. We had to pick one.
But why was there only one? Could there had been 2? And why did they say both bridges had to be done at the same time?
So,
Could there have been, excuse me, could there had been one done, or did they both need immediate attention at the same time?
so Commissioner Burney, the process for government work is that it goes to bid, and then a winning bid is selected. So that's what happened, is a winning bid was selected for that survey, and the survey was then completed. And I don't remember the specific details of the survey off the top of my head because it was years ago, but that's why, is because that's standard process, because we generally don't pay for things multiple times, because you have to pay each contractor that you hire. So it's the same reason why we don't pay multiple cleaning companies or multiple road construction companies to reconstruct the same road. It's a bid process, just in office work.
Commissioner Dockett, you're out of order. I am talking to the city manager that deals with this process. She needs to give the community an answer. I am asking you, city manager, why was there only one architectural advisory company? And why did you choose that one instead of having at least 2 or 3 come in that could have given us different avenues that we could have taken? That's all I'm asking.
So respectfully, I am the chair of this meeting. I am not out of order for responding to your questions. But also, your question has been answered. It is a bid process. That is the answer to the question that you've asked. We selected one winner of the bid process, and that company did the work. That's how a bid process works.
Okay, can I ask her another question?
You're welcome to.
Okay, city manager, when the resolution went in about transparency, about the State Theater, did we have business with them? Because in the resolution for the transparency, you said that we were going to release information about the State Theater. Did we have minutes? Did we have dealings with them? I'd like to know what type of information are we going to release, because they're sold, and the only information that we have dealt with was with the Winona Theater. So I'm not understanding about the State Theater transparency resolution. So did we were we involved with the State Theater?
We had an agreement, it was called a maintenance and operations agreement for them to program and maintain Winona Park. That's all we had.
So that's all the information that you have for the public that they were going to maintain? So that's the big resolution of transparency, that's the only information that we can relay to the public, is that they did
Only
maintenance?
agreement. That's the only agreement we have. That's it.
So the people were waiting for a resolution that Mr. Gerard wrote, that they were waiting for something that, like the minutes or anything like that, so we don't have any of that?
We have the minutes of when that agreement was approved by this commission, but that's it.
So we have no ties with them when it comes to the board and that sort of thing?
We do not.
Thank
Are there any others? Commissioner Gerard?
Thank you. I want to relay a little story. A week and a half ago, I got a call from a resident in the 6th Ward, and she had issues with her neighbor for the last 8 years, she said, and she was at her wit's end, and she had reached out before, and she had some challenges just with public safety back then, but we reached out again, and she called me in tears the other day because after 4 days of working with our public safety department, they've resolved the situation with her neighbor. She is so happy. She's never felt so much relief of the stress that she had. So big kudos for our public safety officers that dealt with that situation. They're utmost professional. She is just super happy and super supportive now of our public safety department. So I wanted to pass along those thank yous. With all the hot weather, we had some issues in Winona Park. And there was algae growing in the fountain. So big kudos too for our Parks Department. I know they came out in full force to clean that up. It was quite the green mess because of all that warm weather. So, and it looks great. And so if you haven't seen it, so we're ready for all the visitors to come in for the fireworks festival. So that's pretty exciting. And again, the fireworks festival, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so get ready for all the fireworks and all the festivities in town. I know I seen Earl yesterday talking about it, so it's going to be a great time in Bay City as always. I did have a question. I had a resident, the parking. I know it's been brought up before, the parking where the new playground is in Veg Park. And I know we have Liberty Harbor Marina there. What are the rules? I mean, I look at that. I know we're talking about where we took out the old tennis courts, and that we talked about some different activities there. We're waiting for funding. Is there any possibility we can take 10 of those spaces? I mean, I rarely see the boat launch there fully used. Are there restrictions on that? Like if we took 10 spots near the playground and said designated as playground parking, I mean, is that feasible, or is there restrictions on that?
So we recently met about that because this commission talked about that a few meetings ago. So in the boat slips themselves, the agreements that we have with the renters and with the transient boaters that we're required to have those spaces for, there has to be one spot per slip, regardless if they are sold or not. It's a requirement that we have to have that. So we did count those out, and it is required. But with that being said, we are looking at doing parking out on that pad. We would have to put something in. Commissioner Clements, we've been working with him since that park down there and trying to figure out some different parking around the marina in the boat slip, or the boat launch area. So we're working on it, but we can't take away the parking spots from the marina.
Because we have signed contractor, because I don't see, do we usually fill up on that? I mean, there's quite a few empty spaces in the boat.
This weekend will be full. I mean, it'll absolutely be full this
But is those contracts, are those, day, week contracts versus, and do they have to have?
It's a whole season.
Seasonal contract to be in there? Okay. All right, thank you. Last question I have is, I know the state changed some of the FOIA laws, or in the process of applying to a higher level for the governor's office and some of the legislatures. And I was just curious on our level on FOIA, you're the FOIA representative for the city, is that correct?
There's two of us, so myself and then public safety has their own.
I would just say, because I get asked about the FOIA laws a lot, and I don't know the standards that apply to the city. You know, if folks are asking for information, obviously it's released. With technology the way it is, if somebody asks for FOIA, can that be put accessible to the general public on our website? So it's being pulled up anyways. Can that be added to our website for?
I don't know how to politely say this, but do you know how many FOIAs we get in a year? I mean, it would be a lot of information to be put on the website. A lot of stuff that people do FOIA is accessible on the website, and we tell them that stuff is out there. But there's, between us two, we have a ton of FOIAs.
Okay, and I guess that'd be good information. So on a weekly basis, how many FOIA requests do we get?
Myself, I probably do anywhere between 10 and 15. I bet you public safety does more than I do. And they're shaking their heads, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any others? Commissioner Hilliker?
Thank you. I was absent at the last meeting, and I was able to review the plans for the 26th Street station, so I appreciate getting those plans to us and the steps to it. I did have a question on the timeline of things, and I'm not sure if you can answer it now or send it to me email, it doesn't matter. But I was really just curious about the circuit inspection and the vegetation maintenance schedule. Because there was 60 days in between, I think there was 4 or 5 circuits on that. So I was just curious about, you know, why they might probably have to be that way. I'm assuming they have to be that way for a reason. So
Adam's coming up.
So to answer your question, the way that we've opted to approach this is we have dedicated crews, and we've assigned them to a circuit. So we're actually going reverse order, so 4 through 1. We have other work that we have to continue to do while we're there, so we've basically shifted our workload around enough where we can free up 1 to 2 crews that are able to work on it. We anticipate that that's going to take approximately those 60 days that you had, identified, in order to get through every circuit. Because when we go there, it's not just a drive-by. When we go to each site and we set up, I mean, that takes time. And then by the time we look at the equipment that's there, we check connections, or if there's any repairs or anything that's there. In addition, with that time frame that's added into there are inclement weather days, there's vacation days, there's stuff like that. So we've hopefully, to mitigate that time frame, we put that out to the 60 days. Crews that are actually doing the line inspection side of things, we've actually kind of deviated slightly from the plan, where we actually have 1 crew that's working on Circuit 4 right now, and then 1 crew that's working on Circuit 3. So we're doing 2 of them in tandem right now. That may shift, as we go through the process, again, with projects that come up. It is our peak construction season, so again, it's shift and work around. Same thing with the vegetation management. We had 2 crews. We ended up losing an employee recently, so now we have 1 tree crew. They're dedicated to it 3 days a week, and that's all they focus on, is doing the tree trimming there. And then the other days of the week, they focus on other areas of the city.
okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
All set? Thank you. Commissioner Burney, you're set? Anyone else? I have a few. I have a resident that called me, 2118 First Street. They said after a rainstorm recently, they had a lot of standing water in the street and believed that ended up backing up into their basement because of it. I was just wondering if we could get someone to go look at it. It's 2118 First. I was in Winona Park earlier and noticed There are barricades around the, like, cutout lower areas for ships to come in. That lower section that we built a couple years ago, yeah, where the steps go down so you can get closer to the water. What is the reason for the barricades in there?
Is that, Bob, is that the part where the Coast Guard, yeah, where the Coast Guard sits? Yeah. That's
Oh, the
their-
Coast
that's their
Guard
area.
docks there?
Yeah,
Okay.
especially during the fireworks. Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense. They get good views. Following along with that, a few years ago, the water levels in the river were really high, and I remember water going into Vets Park, and there were concerns about the sidewalks and the streets there, and I had a resident get a hold of me about water intrusion in Vets Park in the parking lot by the boat launch. Is that still an issue, or has that been, that's been fixed? Okay.
Yeah, the water levels
Okay.
have gone down. Yeah.
All right. That's what I thought, but I wasn't positive. It's just, maybe it's just rough in general. 4th of July is coming up this week. I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. Remember, alcohol and explosives don't mix. Please keep all your fingers, your hands, your toes, all that stuff. We want you to be here. We want you to be healthy. We don't want to make medical calls from the fire department. We want all of you to have a good, safe holiday. So please, 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 please be safe. And that's all I have. We will move on to the manager's report. Does the manager have anything that they would like to remark?
I do. I have a couple things. So we already talked about the fireworks festival. It's Thursday through Saturday, Saturday being our biggest day. They shoot off at 10:12 each night. City offices will be closed this Thursday and Friday. That's the administrative offices. Obviously, we'll still have public safety working and people working on our plants. Also this weekend is the Michigan Aerobatic Open, which is out at James Clements Airport. So you will see planes flying around our city. And then the last item is we're going to bring a presentation forward soon about asking if we could use the interest money that we are earning on the bridge funds that we were paid, if we can use that for a sidewalk program, since we really don't have a sidewalk program anymore. Or maybe some seed money to apply for some grants for our streets. So we'll bring that forward to get your thoughts on that. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Next order of business calls for public input. Under the rules of the City Commission, each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to speak, and Commissioner Clements will serve as the timekeeper. This is the opportunity for citizens to address the Commission regarding any agenda item or any other matter. If anyone wishes to address the Commission, please come forward, sign the registration sheet, state your name and address for the record. Mr. Kimbrough, you have the honors.
Okay, well, I don't have to sign my name again. Check. Okay. I just wanted to get up here and spread the good news. I couldn't wait to get up here. There's been a lot of times we've been in here talking about a lot of doom and gloom and other things, but today is quite contrary to that. Things have went very well this spring. Mother Nature could be a little bit more friendly, but I want to thank everybody involved for the opportunity this year to be able to have the street closures and to have your consideration for this 4th of July event coming up and all the other things that we have in the rest of the summer. It's kind of hard to believe that when you get to July 1st that you're already only 60 days from Labor Day weekend, but that's how quick time goes by. I would like to remind everyone that beyond the fireworks, the following week we have, for the very first time in the Midland Street District, the Cool City Car Show. Not only the cruise on Friday night, but the actual car show that formerly was in downtown Bay City on Saturday from 9 to 4. And then on Sunday, we're having a Jeep show and a little craft market as well. So it's going to be quite a weekend. And next year, we hope to have the Cool City Car Show be a 3-day event. This will be the 29th annual event. And this event has a rich history and has raised over $395,000 in its career for the American Cancer Society. So obviously we're going over 400 this year, and within a couple of years we're going to hit $500,000. So once again, we thank everyone for your support out there. Being a cancer survivor is one of the main reasons why I wanted to get involved in this and carry on the torch. Mike Thalen and his group have done this for a long time, 15 years, and frankly, he's kind of worn out on it. So once again, thank you for everything. It's been a great summer so far, but we've only just begun, and this summer will serve as a springboard for early fall and activities that we have planned for the wintertime, and then, of course, back to spring. So happy 4th of July for everyone, and like I say, I couldn't wait to get up here to say something positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Witt, 1309 South Erie. The presentation from the public safety about trying to go to the smaller vehicles, I remember when that came up to the commission, I think in 2021, the answer at the time by leadership was, no, we need to have the big trucks to everything. And I'm glad that we have looking at a direction where we can go to more efficient vehicles for responses that are more appropriate for what is required. We have the requirement by the county to respond to medical, that's great, but medical calls that you don't need a ladder truck or a truck with a 20-foot ladder just strapped to the side, so I'm glad we're going to look toward more efficient options for that. And then it was brought up a little bit earlier by one of the commissioners, but it's also tied to something that's happened nationally about FOIA and then executive privileges at the same time. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see some disputes in that with Michigan's law in courts, because it is opening up transparency, while at the national level we have a Supreme Court looking to turn a lot of government officials into essentially autocrats. And I'm hoping that the Michigan side of this will win, but I just want to try to ensure people that locally we do as much as possible to be as transparent and as open as possible so that we do not fall into the same trap as a lot of national politicians have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others?
Hi there, Jay Sanborn, 109 Lynn Street. I just wanted to kind of echo, Greg's sentiment there, and there is a lot of great things happening on the west side of the river and on the Midland Street in the business district, and just, again, bringing positive reports forward that the Management Board and the Midland Street Merchants Board, which are two of the bigger boards that manage in those areas, are working together. In too many years past, there was tug of war going on, and now I think we got a good vehicle moving forward, and everybody's behind it pushing, and we're seeing the results. And I don't know if anybody follows Facebook, but you're seeing hundreds of people, every weekend coming down the wine walk. There was our guesstimate was close to 1,000 people that came down and enjoyed themselves. And we're going to keep going. We're 1 month into it, battling a little bit of the weather, but I think with good weather and once everybody gets past 4th of July, I think they start enjoying their summer, and I think we're going to see a lot of great changes here in Bay City, and especially on the west side and in the Midland Street Business District. So thank you very much for all your support.
Thank you. Are there any others? Seeing none, we will move on to public hearing. Next order of business calls for public hearing. This is the opportunity for citizens to address the commission regarding public hearing number 1. Public hearing number 1 reads, Ordinance Amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 122, Zoning, Section 82, to rezone property located at 1021 Broadway from C-1 Neighborhood Business to C-2-A General Business, and to rezone the property located at 1015 Broadway from R-2 Single and Two-Family Residential to C-2-A General Business. Under the rules of the City Commission, each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to speak on this particular item, and Commissioner Clements will serve as the timekeeper. Is there a motion to allow for public hearing on public hearing number 1? Commissioner Clements?
Move to allow for public hearing number 1.
Thank you. And is there a second? Commissioner Gerard?
Second.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to address the commission regarding public hearing item number 1, please come forward, sign the registration sheet, and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we will move on to special orders. Next order of business is special orders. Will the clerk please read the next item on the agenda?
Number 1, City Manager recommending ordinance amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 122 zoning, Section 82, to rezone property located at 1021 Broadway from C1 Neighborhood Business to C2A General Business, and to rezone property located at 1015 Broadway from R2 Single and Two-Family Residential to C2A General Business. Recommendation approve.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Commissioner Gerard?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Brunner?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to approve?
Commissioner Gerard?
Yes.
Clements?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Docket?
Yes.
Rivet?
Yeah.
Bernie?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hilliker?
Yes.
8 yes.
And the motion passes. We have regular agenda left. We have 3 items. Will the clerk please read the next item?
From consent agenda, item 7, City Manager recommending contract with RSK Excavating, Howell, Michigan, for the 2024 CDBG sidewalk replacement project in the amount not to exceed $250,000.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Commissioner Gerard?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Brunner?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Gerard?
Yeah, I just pulled this. I called today by a resident. The process for, he had some questions about the process for bidding and how we do that. And I know the manager sent me that, but can you just talk about the process for folks? I know that the contract that's selected is out of Bay City, or not from Bay City, but can you just cover the process that?
Sure. So when purchasing puts together the bid packets or for the bids to go out, if she is requested to send it to particular companies, like some companies do ask for us to send that information to them because they have to go out to another site to download those bid packets. We do send them an email saying, heads up, this bid is out there, this is the due date that you have to submit back to. So they have to download that from BidNet. And then once the bids are closed, the day is closed, and then we have a public bid opening. And then we determined this bid in particular was for responsible contractors, which is put in place by the City Commission. And they were low, and they were also a lowest responsible contractor.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the public knew we followed the process that we have in place, and that was offered and put out there the information to bid on this. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernie?
Yes, did you say the CDBG monies? City Manager, did you say?
I didn't say that, no.
Okay, I just thought I was hearing something about CDBG funding for streets and sidewalks.
Just sidewalks without.
Just sidewalks?
Without the CDBG attached. Nobody said anything about it that I remember. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Clements?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Docket?
Yes.
Rivet?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hilliker?
Yes.
Gerard?
Yes.
8 yes.
And the motion is adopted, approved. Will the clerk please read the next item?
Regular agenda item 1, Commissioner Rivet's resolution regarding communication.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Commissioner Rivet, I'm sorry.
Move the resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Morris?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing Commissioner Gerard?
Just for clarification, so the point of the resolution is to make sure that there's no separate communication amongst the officers versus the whole commission. Is that just for verification? That if there's communication amongst the officers, it goes out to everybody at the same time. Is that the purpose?
Sure. Anyone else? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Docket?
No.
Rivet?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Brunner?
No.
Hilliker?
No.
Gerard?
No.
Clements?
No.
Motion fails. Thank you. Will the clerk please read the next item on tonight's agenda? And last,
Commissioner Clements' resolution regarding closure of Midland Street.
thank you. Is there a motion? Commissioner Clements, is there a second?
Move to approve?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun there. I'm so excited. Commissioner Brunner,
Yeah, second.
thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Docket?
Yes.
Rivet?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hilliker?
Yes.
Gerard?
Yes.
Clements?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
8 yes.
Motion is approved, and that concludes our business for the evening. Thank you, everyone, for